Okay, we're live. Hi, everyone. I'm Jonny and welcome to today's event for the 1500 Miles from the Sun virtual tour launch week thing. Yeah, and today I am joined by some of my faves, besties, 2021 Musas, Crystal Maldonado, Olivia Abtahi, and Laekan Zea Kemp. If y'all want to introduce yourselves real quick, and we can start shooting the shit or whatever.
All right, since we'll just go in the order that you just said. So, hi, I'm Crystal Maldonado. I'm the author of Fat Chance Charlie Vega. I wrote a book about a fat girl falling in love, and I want you all to buy it and enjoy it. So that's what we're doing.
And it's an Amazon's best book of the year so far.
Yes. So far. I love that they added the so far to the category.
I shouldn't have said that part out loud.
No,
it's still a big deal.
I know, but they should be to date. I don't know. Yeah, so far it's just so aggressive.
It made me laugh out loud though. So far, it could fall off. Who knows?
I forget the order, but I'll go next. My name is Olivia Abtahi, and I am the author of Perfectly Parvin, which follows 14-year-old Parvin Mohammadi as she just gets brutally dumped the day she starts high school, and she has to find a date to homecoming to save face.
And I'm Laekan Zea Kemp, and I'm the author of Somewhere Between Bitter and Sweet, which came out in April. And it's a YA contemporary romance about first love, the power of food, familial expectations, and finding where you belong, set in a Mexican restaurant that is the heart of a fiercely loyal Chicana community.
Cute. And I'm Jonny Villa. I wrote 1500 Miles from the Sun, which came out Tuesday. And no, it's an animal. And it is about Corpus Christi, Texas high school senior Julian Luna, who accidentally comes out as gay while extremely drunk at a party. And the Los Angeles Twitter crush who slides into his DMs the next morning. So yeah, those are our books. I want to start with a cute little icebreaker question. So if our main characters were having a casual little kickback moment and had to each bring something to eat, what would they bring?
Your book had so many cute kickback moments, Jonny.
So many.
We thrive on them.
Sorry, Crystal.
I was just going to say, Charlie is bringing some rice and beans because that's her comfort food and the only thing she knows how to cook. So that's what's coming for you guys. So enjoy.
But I would also bring a rice dish because that's just our people.
Exactly.
But yeah,
we just have four rice dishes.
Seriously, Parvin would bring a rice dish called Zeresh Polo, which if you follow me on Instagram, every time I'm stressed, I just make this dish with crispy rice, but it's just rice with saffron and barberries and slivered almonds and carrots, and there's sugar and lots of butter. So it's kind of halfway between a savory food and a dessert.
It sounds really good.
So I feel like Penn would probably want to be in charge of the food at these festivities.
Definitely.
And probably
be
want to
no doubling up on rice.
Well, or she might let you use that as a distraction so that she can take care of the main the meats.
He's like, oh, that's cute. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can see her roasting a pig in the backyard. We're in Texas, right? So maybe a brisket in the smoker. Definitely some tacos, and of course her signature coconut cake. And as far as drinks, there is some underage drinking featured among the restaurant crew. It's somewhere between bitter and sweet. So they probably have plenty of tequila, but no Budweiser allowed.
Oh, that's
fair.
Fine.
Yeah, very fair.
I'm in Coors country. Yeah, that makes sense.
I was like, you know what? That's actually a really good idea. Someone needs to bring meat because Jules wouldn't bring meat. He's a whole ass plant eater. But I feel like he would bring a lot. I think he'd probably bring vegetarian birria tacos. He probably learned how to TikTok or something. And maybe some vegetarian charo beans and maybe a huge ass can, those La Costeña cans of jalapenos and carrots, and just for himself probably. But he would bring that too. but I think it'd be a pretty cute meal. A lot of rice, but like
So much rice.
cute. So I wanted to specifically talk about how like all of our books kind of center around identities or cultures that like we ourselves grew up in or exist in now. So first I wanted to talk about like the good feelings and vibes and emotions that we felt when writing those characters or those settings that's really close to us and encompasses who we are.
Oh, you want to start on a positive note and
Yeah.
end on a sad note?
It gets sadder as we graduate.
I said no Budweiser.
So I guess I will go and say that I loved being able to, I guess, like pay tribute to a lot of things that were a part of my life that I didn't often get to see in other books that I read. So even like small things, just like comfort foods that Charlie really liked and things that her mom would make her. And so like little things like that ended up being just really comforting to me as like the author, very selfishly. I'm like, haha, I get to put this in a book and you have to all read it and this is great. And it's really nice, I feel like, to help almost like validate your own existence, right? Like you're putting it on a page, it's going to be in black and white, people are going to read it, and there is something I think really meaningful about that.
Agreed. I feel, and I'm not sure if y'all feel the same way, but every time I feel like our books have a lot of joy, and the like all of our different like ethnicities, like in the past, maybe our stories didn't include joy, you know. And that's not to say our books don't have hard things. Like all of our characters are definitely going through hard things, but for me, it was just really fun to write a book with a sense of humor. Like I really worked hard to make Parvin more of a calm than a rom, and like just get jokes that land and that feel good on the page, and let a female protagonist have just a wicked sense of humor, even if she's like the butt of every joke. And I think that was just really great because, you know, there's more pranks than processing. Like there's more like jokes than actual, like, I think feelings sometimes, for better or for worse. But I think for me, that just meant so much to me to be able to just have a funny character and not an important character and a quote timely character. She's just a girl living in her skin, and that was really great.
Yeah, for me, it feels really sort of magical and surreal. And I think part of that too is that, you know, we all debuted during a pandemic. And so we've had limited interaction with not just like the physical book in stores, but people who are reading it. We're not always getting their immediate feedback. Like we're not meeting readers in a signing line or anything like that. But I can't help but think back to the hours and hours I used to spend searching the shelves of my local library or my local Barnes and Noble. And, you know, never having the option to see my lived experience on the page, and therefore having to find other entry points into a very whitewashed canon that, you know, I had very mixed feelings about. On the one hand, obviously I was a voracious reader and absolutely loved reading, but I was reading a bunch of stories that, and I've heard people use this phrase a lot, that didn't necessarily love me back. So now being able to write Mexican American, and Chicane characters, as well as Tejane characters, it feels like such a loving exchange, like between me and the characters I'm writing about, but also between me and my community and between me and readers. It just gives me like such a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And it's kind of hard to articulate. It's more just like this, like I said, just like this physical sensation, this exchange of love.
I like completely agree. I feel like, I don't know who I mentioned this to on whatever interview I did, whenever, but like there's definitely just like this inexplicable feeling that happens like when you come across a book that like makes your existence valid. And like, I think that's super cool. Like I grew up just really wanting to separate myself from like my Chicana and my queer identities. So writing this story has made me so happy because like even though Jules doesn't check off every single identity box I do. The closest I had before this probably was Aristotle and Dante, and like that book takes place before I was born and in El Paso, which is completely different from Southeast Texas. And so it also made me like confident in my identities too, just being able to like write these experiences and existences, and like knowing that I have and belong in these spaces, and that I bring value into it by being all of these things.
I love how you're like, El Paso's so different from where I grew up. And over here, I'm like, I don't know how Texas fucking works. Like, I'm like, isn't it Southeast? Like, where is El Paso? Like,
I mean, like, I feel like I think this is the fact, but El Paso is actually closer to Los Angeles than it is to Austin.
Whoa. I did not know that.
Yeah,
Texas is massive.
And El Paso is like in this part, like way over there.
Yeah.
Like living under New
Okay.
Mexico.
Yeah, but I just want to say for people watching that if you share a Chicane identity like Jonny and I do, like the feelings that we're describing as writers, I had that feeling as a reader of Jonny's book. And I had goosebumps. That's so weird, but it's just, it's a magical thing to be able to write. It's also such a magical thing to experience as a reader. And I'm finding, that I'm just having like such a powerful, visceral reaction to not just Jonny's book, but like just all the chances that I get to read like other Musa's work. It just affects me so deeply. And so I just want to say, like, if you're looking for that very specific identity, to buy his book or buy their book. Sorry.
Jonny, I just want to say the same thing, because once again, I've like never really been to Texas, but like I felt like you just did such a good job of anchoring me in place. Like I hadn't read a book like that since Ibiza Boy's Pride, where she's literally just like explaining her like block. But like it was just so well done. And one day I hope to go to Texas and do all the things that happen in your book.
Seriously, like I feel like I'm a Texas expert now. I have never been. I also don't know the geography of it. Like what? But I also wanted to say, going off what Jonny said about like kind of wanting to distance yourself from certain identities growing up. Like I mean, we're all, I think, different ages, but I think we all grew up feeling like maybe an outsider from time to time. Like we grew up in a society that really prioritized whiteness and really prioritized like heteronormativity and like all of these things and thinness and all these things that make you feel like you're weird and you're like, you should change something about yourself. And so I feel like having these books and having multiple types of books to actually choose from and like find yourself in these books in different ways is really phenomenal. And I hope people who are watching buy all of these books because they're so good.
No, yeah, for like, I mean, just like the ways in which I even connected with Charlie, and the ways that like Parvin and just being like super awkward freshman, and like all of the like the Hana things about like a taco shop in Austin, like they were just all like, okay, these I get this.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, it's great when you hit those marks. So while there might be like those books or like other books that are kind of like adjacent to our identities of our main characters specifically, like that number's not a lot, especially compared to the huge amount of white main characters from every single walk of life that's available just on any bookshop at any bookstore right now. And I am very aware that we're all just completely humble people, but like, was there any thinking about like the significance of this person you're sharing with the world?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's a tough question, I feel like. I feel like for me, I thought about it more selfishly in terms of like teen me and like what did younger Crystal need to see and what would have made people who were like me, what would they like to see in a book? What would they like to see on the shelf? Like how meaningful would it be to go into a store and to see someone that looks, oh, I'm on the wrong side, that looks like Charlie and that, you know, looks like them and that they can sort of see themselves in. And if I go beyond that, I feel like I break out in hives because it's so stressful to think that like these are books that are, I feel like, part of history, right? Like we are still just a few, maybe the only of like our very specific identity. And that is incredibly powerful, but also terrifying, right? Like there's this immense pressure to feel like you got to get every single thing right in your book, when you're really just trying to write your book for like in this one experience and portray it, just do a good job, not like speak for every single person in the entire world who holds your identity. So I feel like there's like a mix of both. Like, yeah, I have kind of thought about it beyond me, but also then I get stressed out and I say, never mind, this is not for anybody. It's not part of history.
Laekan, I feel like, I mean, you kind of brought this up, but because we're in a pandemic, like it's really tough for me to just not just physically connect with readers in person, but yeah, like Crystal, you were saying, just like visualize the reader because I'm just here in my house, you know. But something that was really cool is that well, first of all, Crystal recreated my cover, which was amazing. And then a bunch of Iranian diaspora you know, booktubers, book bloggers, bookstagrammers recreated the cover themselves and called it Perfectly Persian. And that was kind of the moment when it hit me that I was like, oh, like other, you know, like people from the Iranian diaspora are seeing themselves now. So that was just a huge moment for me. And I feel like I had a different experience from Crystal because I do have so many other Iranian American authors to look up to, you know. Just Adib Khorram, he had, I believe, 2 books come out this year about the Iranian American experience, along with countless others, Abdi Nazamian, you know, Tahir Mafi, like just so many that I didn't feel that pressure. Like I got to have like my weird little book and just be like super specific and strange. And I didn't have to like get it too deep into the weeds on just like the Iranian American experience as a whole, which I thought was really liberating. And so I'm excited for Crystal. You're paving the way so that someone else gets to feel the way I do, you know, when I'm drafting my book. So I just thought that makes me emotional. Good.
Friends making each other cry live.
I said no Budweiser. Okay, is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay.
You're like, no comment, bud.
Well, with this question, I actually think about it often. It's really difficult not to. And I know I talk about like my past life as a teacher all the time, but you know, as being in the classroom, I was really able to see up close both the positive and negative implications of having or not having diverse representation available to kids. So I think a lot about the weight of what I'm doing and the responsibility that comes along with that. What someone takes away from my book has the potential to affect how that person sees our community. And that's a scary thing. You know, if I don't get this right, that my words and this story could be weaponized against us. On the other hand, I also feel this great sense of urgency to write as many stories as I possibly can to preserve that history and to celebrate the diversity, even with my own specific ethnic and cultural identity. And so that desire to just sort of flood publishing and really all kinds of media with our stories, it makes it really hard to slow down or to take a break. Like the work feels too important for that to set it aside and rest. But what I always try to remind myself is that, you know, I'm not doing this alone. Obviously, we're all here together because we share a vision for what publishing and the new literary canon can be. And so that's something that does bring me a lot of comfort, that none of us are carrying this responsibility alone, and that we really have so many people, like from teachers and librarians to like our beloved Latinx bookish community, reviewers and bloggers and bookstagrammers, as well as other Latinx industry professionals, you know, Latinx agents and editors and bookstore owners and book buyers, and obviously our incredible Latinx readers. who all have the same hopes and dreams that we do, and who I truly feel like are all in this fight with us. Like I have yet to meet just a casual reader, a casual Latinx reader. Like they're in this with us, and we just have an incredible community that is working just as hard as we are to help us succeed. And that just leaves me with so much hope for the future and what readers can continue to look forward to.
I love those answers. I actually was like thinking about this question incredibly superficially until like this morning. Whenever I had been, like, I was like answering this interview question about like, how does it feel that your story is going to bring like affirmation and validation and reassurance to queer teens everywhere? And I'm like, that's overwhelming and scary. Like, I don't know how to answer that.
You're like, I'm trying to explain what a burger to people.
Right.
That's all I want.
Let's talk about drunk tweets.
Right?
Start there.
Exactly. Like I've like said multiple times, like I really hope that whoever like knows what it is to be like in Jules' shoes feels comfort and all that. But now that it's like here and real and people are reading it, it's like, oh my God, like okay, now it's scary. And now I'm like, oh my, like now there's responsibility because they can actually go get it now. And so like now, yeah, the whole question just kind of shaped differently. But like I was also just kind of thinking about even our covers. Like already there's just so much that breaks away from most of what's out there without even having to open our book. Like, I mean, how often do we get to see like a gay brown Chicano or just like a brown Chicana or a Mexican young people in general on a cover that's not like just them silhouetted and like some strange blue color or something.
Yeah.
Or even like an Iranian girl and a fat Puerto Rican girl, like on the center of a cover, just in their existence. Like sometimes I try not to think about like, wow, this book is going to be so impactful because that just sounds kind of like high and mighty. But like other times I'm like, no, like we did the damn thing. Like they're out there. They're like giving people a chance to see themselves. And that's important.
But Jonny, I also feel like, Love, Simon came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's that scene where, his mom is like, you can exhale, right, from the movie. Sorry, it's my kid crying. I have to leave in a sec. But, and like in your book, like the parents aren't as welcoming. I don't want to spoil too much, but like I thought that's the story I hear from people in my community. The queer books that get a lot of love are like not what like people in our community experience. So I think there's so many young kids, probably boys in Texas, who are going to read this book and feel so seen, and who are very lonely, who now know that they have this book in their lives. So I'm just so excited for them. And I will be back in 5 minutes. Excuse me.
Okay.
right after you give me a whole ass emotion. Okay.
She really just wants to make everyone cry tonight. Like
right. And then just
like I gotta go. Bye. But there is so there's so much power in all of these stories, and it is overwhelming to think about. And then like once you start hearing from people who read your story and who saw themselves in it, like that is, I feel like, the most incredible feeling. And I don't think I let myself think about that before the book came out because I would have been like too overwhelmed. But I had a very similar experience to Olivia where like suddenly people were like fat brown girls were recreating this cover and they look like Charlie. And it's like, what? Oh my God, you like it? And you like, this is meaningful. And I feel like that's going to be the same for you and has been the same for you. And it's just, I don't know, an incredible feeling.
I love seeing those recreations. Those are so cute. And like, I don't know. I sometimes I think about like the word important and like specifically like BIPOC literature and how it can kind of be shaped into this like tool that white people use to where like, oh, we can write like our millionth Cinderella story, but like, if a brown person or black person or Asian person, whoever, their story isn't important, then it loses value automatically. But like, I think there's also a way to look at important through just the lens of our own communities and our own identity. And like see and say that, yeah, it is important. Like it's important to us. Like y'all can't use it, but like it's important to us. And like that's completely valid.
Yeah. I mean, literally going back to the fact that we all have such joyful books, like there's so much love and like happiness and friendship, like literally Laekan reading your book and seeing the family that is that restaurant, like that brought me so much joy. And I think people need to see things like that. And like Jules's friend group is an incredible group of like this beautiful, like found family. I'm like, I want to be friends with them. Like they're incredible. And that we haven't been able to tell these stories and create these narratives that are celebrating happiness and celebrating that joy. And now I feel like we finally are getting to that place. And I'm very grateful for that. Because yeah, we have books that have heavy topics too, but like, if we want to write about love, let us write about love. Or if we want to write about food, let us write about food.
No, yeah, definitely. Cute. So, oh my God. I lost the
Are you
question.
just getting blown up because you're so popular this week?
That, and then it like distracted me on what question I was on.
This question is the specific question.
Yeah, okay, yes. It is. So like getting to like the harder stuff, like we don't shy away from like the hard things that can come specifically from being raised in our communities and being of a specific identity as a teenager. But thinking on that, like what advice would you give to writers who are hoping to do the same or write those kinds of stories that kind of have a lot of heart and soul in them, or maybe even wondering like if they're like enough as an identity to tell that story? And even like maybe what was that journey like for you writing your book?
Okay, I feel like I have a lot of thoughts on this. So so it's really, I think, challenging to put your own identity on the page and in a book, because one, it makes you confront your own things. Like you have to really experience those emotions again and really think about them and process them. And that can be a lot, right? Like if you're writing about it and you're like, oh wait, I guess I never processed that thing that happened to me. But it can also be really therapeutic. And so when I was writing Fat Chance Charlie Vega, I knew I wanted to have this like really wonderful and sweet love story kind of juxtaposed with this girl who was really having a hard time being kind to herself, learning to love her body, and also had this really kind of ugly sometimes relationship with her mom. Those were things that I also experienced. And so it was very emotional putting those into a book. But I tried to think about what would young people who have had similar experiences, what would they want to read on a page and what would be like useful for them, and almost like learn from my own experiences that maybe took me a really long time to learn or get lessons from, and put that in a book, right? And make it so that if someone picks this up, they don't have to wait until they're like in their 30s before they start saying goodbye to toxic people, setting boundaries, figuring out that they deserve happiness, that they can love their bodies. So I almost wanted to like package some of these lessons that I learned and that took me forever to learn, and hopefully share those so that younger people who are picking this up, or even older folks, like pick this up and it feels like I didn't go through all of that for nothing. It feels like I get to now share these things and hopefully help like affirm someone else's experience, identity, whatever that is, and make them feel a little bit less alone in whatever they're going through. But on the flip side of that, then you have to do marketing. And guess what? You got to talk about all that stuff. And so people are going to ask like really sometimes tough or invasive questions. And I feel like this happens a lot to own voices. I know we're doing away with that term, but like own voices, authors, get these really like personal questions. And it's like, you see other authors, it's like, so talk to me about like, what do you listen to when you write? And then to us, it's like, so tell me about your childhood. Is this did it start as you're a kid and you're like, what? I just want to talk about the music I listened to when I wrote this. So I guess the advice I would give if you're tackling some of these heavier topics is to remember that you don't owe anybody anything about your personal experience and identity. It's in the book. They can pick that up and they can read it and they can make their own assumptions, and you don't have to feel like you have to give up parts of yourself in order to sell your book or to market your book. Your book does that on its own. And so you shouldn't feel pressured, I think, to give into that and share things you don't want to. But if you want to, that, like, I just want people to feel powerful, I guess, and feel like in control of what they share and what they don't share.
Yeah, and I think for those of us who do struggle with identity and feeling enough of whatever that identity is, sometimes when those questions come up and they're unexpected, it feels a little bit like a test. Mm-hmm. And there's a part of you that feels obligated to answer because you want to prove that you knew what you were doing when you read the book, that it was coming from a true and honest place. But like Crystal said, we don't owe anyone anything other than what we already put into the book. I know that before becoming a member of Las Musas, I was really nervous that either formally or informally there would be some kind of test or some means of like measuring my Latinidad.
Yeah.
And that I was going to have to prove that I belonged the same way that I've had to prove that I belong in white majority spaces my entire life. Mm-hmm. But what I quickly learned is that almost every Latinx person living in the US has very complicated feelings about being enough ethnically and culturally as it relates to their marginalization. And luckily, I think it's something that we talk openly about within and among members of Las Musas. I mean, we have a Slack channel all about asking for language help. And you can see in our posts, like, how apprehensive we are about getting those little things wrong. So like I said, it didn't take me very long to realize that my feelings I had about being una pocha, about being too American, etc., were all things that other Latinx authors were feeling as well. So I would say if you're an aspiring author writing from a marginalized identity, know that you're not alone in those complicated feelings, and also know that there is more than enough room in the Latinx literary canon for your very specific version of Latinidad. There is more than enough room in publishing for your specific experience of your marginalized identity. So however that manifests for you, whatever that feels like for you, just keep writing about it.
Yeah, I love those answers. And like, I think that like people who are just getting into writing and drafting these kinds of stories could really use those kinds of words. Like, I know whenever I was drafting my book, and even revising, like, it was very much me figuring out how to get over that wall of not feeling Mexican enough to write this book. And that was a whole process, and at times really hindered my ability to be unapologetic about writing my community. And in a lot of ways, I never really fully got over that until after the book was out of my hands. And then like I started getting like closer to Twitter mutuals who were like also Latina, and also like, yeah, like I experienced this a lot too. And like, this is just kind of what every one of us feels. And so there's just like this, I don't know if it's comfort, because it's still kind of uncomfortable, but this like knowledge that like none of us are going to be perfect about it, and that's okay. And I think like Crystal had mentioned this earlier, but just like, no one's going to reach that book that reaches every single person of a particular identity. Like, one person will read your book and say that like it's the best book they've ever read. They've never felt more seen before, but then like their whole ass twin sibling could read it and be like, no, this is blasphemous. This is insulting to the community. Like, there's no way to write for everyone. So like, I think you just got to write the story that you're proud of and just keep on writing. I think that like continuing to write your own experiences, if that's just what you want to do, like if you want to write not about your community, that's totally fine too. But like, if you're writing about your community and your identities, just keep on going. I know that like in my second novel, like my ability and my confidence to do that was so much higher than my debut novel, and it reads like that. And so like, and I feel like as I continue to write more like that, then it's just going to get even bigger and better and louder. And it's going to be really interesting to see what my fourth or fifth book looks like compared to my debut. And just like that unapologeticness that I'm going to probably have compared to like, can I use Mexican here? Can I like do this or that here? Like it's going to get better.
Jonny, are you allowed to tell us about your second book at all?
Oh, I mean, I can. My second book, which was announced like last month, I think. It's titled Ander and Santi Were Here. I love it because it takes place in San Antonio, and it takes place largely in Taqueria. And it is about a non-binary Chicane who is a muralist taking a gap year before they start college at an art school in Chicago. And the new waiter at their family's taqueria, who they are very quickly crushing over. And then they just kind of have this mutual crush that's like super obvious, and then eventually they get together. But then it very much becomes like them trying to hold on to like their relationship and their feelings for each other whenever it's discovered that Santi, the new waiter, is undocumented, and just like how to navigate a world where they would rather be torn apart. And yeah.
Sold. I cannot wait.
Done. Let's do this.
Like my agent said it felt more Mexican and it felt more gay, and like I agree on those things. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. So like
this is the future liberals want.
Exactly.
Am I wrong?
That's where we're going. So yeah. Oh, cute. So I got this because of like RuPaul's Drag Race, and when they get to like the top 4, like they have this moment where RuPaul like brings out like your kid picture and is like, tell this little child version of you what you would want to tell them now.
It's literally so traumatic every time I
like
sob.
These like, grown ass 30-year-old drag queens just crying at a picture of like their 3-year-old self in like a little cowboy outfit. But we don't have to do that much tonight. I just like, more so like in my own opinion, I don't really fully embrace that like I write the books I wish I had at 17, because I just don't think that I would even have been able to access that kind of literature, even like if it was available. But I really just want to show who I was at 17. Like, hey, we fucking made it. Like, we're here now. And so I'm interested in what do you think 17-year-old you would think or feel or say about seeing these books by you, celebrating and putting front and center our cultures and so much of ourselves on bookshelves.
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but like my mind would be fucking blown. I'd be like, you're from the future. What the fuck are you talking about? Punch in the face. Like space-time continuum solved. That was crazy. You know, like I mean, I like to this, I don't know about y'all, but like when I thought about writing a book, I'd be like, but how does the reader know where everyone is in the scene and what they're doing and what they're all thinking at the same time, so that you can get like, I just like logistically like couldn't wrap my head around it, because like y'all, like it's a fucking book, like it's so hard. And now I'm like, to this, I still don't feel like an author. Like I maybe because it's the pandemic and like I haven't like had an author reader moment, but my husband just texted me and said, stop cussing. Should I not be cussing on this panel?
You're fine. This
okay.
is video. Cussing is encouraged.
Okay. Because sometimes we like tweet like supportive things, like, or while we're like on these Zoom calls or whatever. But yeah, I would just be so, honestly, I would think that the Olivia I am now is just like way too cool for the Olivia back then. I don't know about y'all, but I'd be like, there's no way I don't know how we get from A to B, but like there's an alien intervention. It just blows my mind to this day.
I agree. I love this question. And I think 17-year-old me would be in complete disbelief and also terrified that I actually wrote a book and was like talking about it in front of people and like having to do panels. Like I think 17-year-old me would like lock herself in her room and just cry for future me and be like, how did you get there? And how did you overcome like the anxieties and things like that?
I didn't.
I'm just pretending 17-year-old self. But yes, exactly. Like Olivia said, like it's, I don't know. I think young me would just be proud and like think that older me is so brave and like has her shit together when that's not the case. But it sure does look that way to 17-year-old me. Like,
but you got the twinkly lights. You
got
got
the
your
twinkly lights. Yeah, like in my house that I have. And I just think that I accomplished so much more than I ever thought I was capable of at 17.
I know I've mentioned this to y'all before during an IG live that we did, but my 17-year-old self had sky high expectations. And I think initially she would be like, WTF, it took you 10 years to get a book deal.
I'm sorry, the 17-year-old you who likes vanilla ice cream and drinks plain water would be messing with you this way?
Room temperature, right?
Oh, sorry. Room
temperature water. Exactly, right? So I would definitely have to sit her down and like tell her to stop being so self-righteous and explain to her, you know, all of the systemic racism that has kept stories from marginalized voices out of publishing, and like just what a goddamn feat it is that I have, you know, a book in the world. Like, and I think once reality sunk in, then she would be very proud and also probably really looking forward to a future in which she's living a creative life and doing what she loves. Because I've been in pursuit of this for a long time. 17-year-old me, that's when I wrote my first book, was my senior year in high school. So she kind of had her eyes on the prize this entire time. And this was always the dream. It just, you know, it was a very windy way of getting here.
But you got there. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
It's true. I think like my 17-year-old self would be similar to Laekan in the high expectations, but like also just for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I don't know why we had some of those goals. Like I truly thought I was going to be like the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is now AOC. I thought I was going to be her, but I didn't. Like if like they were like, oh, you got a novel, they'd probably be like, well, why aren't you Suzanne Collins? Because all I read back then was like dystopian stuff. And so like
you're like, just give me time, give me that contract, like, I'll make it happen.
Give me an idea, your child. Like, give me an idea. But I mean, I think they'd also just be kind of like pretty fucking excited. Like, although I was just incredibly bad at ever helping myself growing up, I'd always envisioned myself doing something with my life that was helping other people, and that kind of like hopefully left something in this world that made it maybe just like a little bit brighter. And I think that they would see this and feel like we absolutely did that, and we're gonna keep doing that. And like as shitty as that existence was at that time, like they would see this book and know that maybe not like tomorrow or next year, but at some point life won't be so shitty anymore, and it will actually kind of be the opposite of shitty. And so like that'd be kind of cool.
Am I just a big baby? Because like I just want to cry
it up. Yeah. I mean,
it's really nice.
I'm so excited for your next book, Jonny, with a non-binary protagonist, because I feel like there's so few young adult books out there with a like POC non-binary protagonist, or like trans POC folks. And like I know that, you know, 1,500 Miles from the Sun is already going to change a lot of lives, but like I think that book for sure is going to just be like a Bible for some of these kids, and I'm so excited for it to change the world.
No, yeah, same. Like, I mean, especially because I feel so many non-binary characters are like these quiet people, like just kind of like trying to figure out their own existence, and like Anna's very loud and like wild, and like they might be like a Pisces Aries cusp, but very strong on that Aries of just like never being able to be quiet. And so like I love that too, of just like we don't have to be like the little quiet person who's maybe the main character in their own life, but like has to like go and do what everyone else expects of them to succeed. Like, no, like you can be trashy. You can be trashy as fuck, and like it's okay.
Yes. More trashy protagonists.
Exactly.
Like that's a whole
we love
a whole other Zoom thing for me, because like I feel the same way. Like give me loud protagonists, give me messy protagonists, give me ones who like don't know how to keep their mouth shut, and like because I don't know about y'all, but I grew up where all the protagonists were like they're like so shy. They're like, I can't eat. I'm too shy, or they'd be like, oh, I tripped and fell because I'm so shy. Edward, like, I'm too shy to love you. And I'd be like, I felt so bad, like, for just talking, like, as much as I did back then, because I was like, I'm never going to get a boyfriend. I'm not shy enough.
Oh.
Right, like I don't know who said that like the main characters in actual life are the quiet people, because that's not true. That's not true.
They have better internal processes for books, though. See, there's movies and books. That's what.
Fair.
Okay, so we'll move past like the heartfelt question. Enough of that. If you had an end cap revolving around your book that is now at a bookstore, what other books would be included in that end cap?
Can we just do
Besides
an end cap with all
of ours?
Besides, we're like on a front table in the store. So
yes. Okay, my end cap has other fat girl books around it, because why not? So Love is a Revolution, I think, is going to be there. We're going to have Dumplin' and Puddin' by Julie Murphy. We're going to have Juliet Takes a Breath. Gabby, A Girl in Pieces is going to be there. It's just going to be a whole just like fat brown girl shelf, and we're going to curate it, and it's going to be really cute. And then all the fat girls are going to go in there and just be like, oh my God, I'm amazing. And it's going to change lives.
I want to go to there.
That is an inspired book cap. Like, oh my God.
Bookstores, if you're listening, it can be a reality.
Oh gosh, I was trying to look for some inspiration, but I think going back on what we were saying, I think I would have an end cap just full of loud protagonists. So like
that.
And like OG loud protagonists like Bridget Jones' Diary for sure. Like that was just one of my faves growing up. And like Angus Thong's Full Frontal Snogging would have to do that. Isabel Girl in Pieces, absolutely. Like that, it's like that's like a big comp for like Parvin. And then I gotta rep my Iranian American. So, Darius Segura Is Not Okay. Like a Love Story. I just, there's like so many to choose from, honestly, and now I'm blanking because I don't have props. And like all of Sandia Mainon's books. And then I'm gonna throw in a Mary H.K. Choi Emergency Contact in there just because of the sense of humor quotient. Yeah.
That's a good end cap too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I would definitely say A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow, and not just because that
I was gonna say that
sticker on the cover would like make it a super high traffic area, but also that book is incredible, and our heroines are both foodies who love to bake. Also, A Faux Love Story, my fellow 2021 debut, also all about delicious food. And this book isn't out yet, I haven't read it, but I came across it earlier this afternoon. The Heartbreak Bakery. It's set in Austin, just like somewhere between bitter and sweet. So
yeah.
And like Kisses and Croissants, I know that's coming out soon. I'm just like, that's the cutest title. I feel like that's going to be another really delicious read.
I think that one that you mentioned, like, it actually has like a non-gender protagonist.
I can't remember who the author is. I think you're right, though.
Either, but I know that book. Yeah, and I'm super excited for one.
And I think there's like a speculative element to it or something. Like it's not quite reality. I think there's something like a little bit magical about the bakery, but like less on the side of magic, more on the side of speculative. I don't know. It sounded really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Vanessa Yu's Magical Paris Tea Shop or Natalie Tan's Book of Luck and Fortune, like those fabulous books. I feel like, those are so... I put all of those books in like the same bucket, and your book, like any book that makes me drool.
Those are so good. I would probably do like a soccer gaze one, like with Running with Lions by Julian Winters, and like Darius the Great Not Okay and Darius the Great Deserves Better by Adib Khorram, The Passing Playbook by Isaac Fitzsimmons, and then we got to have Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, like right there too. And yeah, like that would be. It could like a shape of a soccer ball or something. I don't know.
I love it. And also, Raquel Marie is working on future
we are
soccer one.
Rocky in this house.
I love it.
I'm so excited for that one. And then if your book is on Netflix, what movies and shows would be included in like the watch next after like the credit over or whatever?
Okay, I'll go. I just felt bad because I kept going first, and I was like, "Oh, I'll give someone else a chance."
You established a pattern. It's too late.
Okay. Okay, so to all the boys I've loved before, on our IG Live, you all know I am a huge Jenny Han stan, so I feel like that would be one that would be suggested. I want to say One Day at a Time, just like I just love that show. This is from Hulu, but I just watched the movie Plan B. I don't know if anyone has seen it.
Ooh,
It's
no.
really good, and it's basically two brown girls, and one of them has sex for the first time and then needs Plan B, and they go on like this all-nighter road trip to find a Planned Parenthood that's actually open, that they so they can get it. And it's so funny, and I just loved it so much. And I thought the friendship was like friendship goals, and so I kind of liked that it gave off like Charlie and Amelia vibes, although they were way more badass than Charlie and Amelia were. And then I'm gonna say Homecoming by Beyonce is a suggestion also, because why not? Dream big, guys.
Okay, that's like a killer thumbnail cue. Like if that came up like,
Right?
in the row, I'd be like, shit. Yeah, I love this question so much. It's such a good question. Mine would be Never Have I Ever, the Mindy Kaling show.
Oh, I love that show.
With Maitreyi Ramakrishnan. Yeah, that show for sure. Other things that would pop up are On My Block, which another show I love. And then some animated ones like She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, because Parvin's a little younger, along with like Kipo and the Wonder Beasts. Just like some really cool, like queer-friendly, like animated content that's coming out now that I wish I'd had as like a younger teen. And yeah, the Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging movie, of course.
Of course.
So I wondered how many of us were going to say On My Block for this question, which just goes to show like why we need, people to buy our books and turn them into movies and TV shows. But I would also say Hentified for sure. Just element. Maybe also the Great British Baking Show.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then also Netflix has a show called The Taco Chronicles that I think would be a perfect fit. And
That's
each
such a good
episode
show.
like a different type of taco, and it's amazing. And there's going to be a season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the tacos will continue.
Excellent.
I think season 2 is already out, actually.
Oh, is it?
I think so. I feel like I've watched more Taco Chronicle recently. I just the first season. I don't know. Like, I'm obsessed with that show. It could be either or, honestly. I would definitely include On My Block and One Day at a Time, too. We the Animals, the Ariana Grande documentary concert thing.
Yes.
Love Simon, the half of it. Hentified probably 2. There's this movie that just came out on Netflix that I haven't seen yet. It's called like Mosquita y Mari. That looks like real coming of age and real like Chicana and sapphic. And so I'm pretty sure that that'd be there too.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I want to add Jane the Virgin to mine also.
Oh, of course.
I feel like it goes with Charlie writing, blah, blah, blah.
I see that. Cute. We're just gonna like stick with like the cuter questions. Oh, I don't even know if I have an answer for this one, but I'll think of it. If there's like an alternate universe where like your main character and the main character of one of our other books like got into something like When the Heat Small, like which character is it with and what nonsense are they getting into?
I mean, obviously Julian is going to be like Parvin's like older brother like figure in her life, because they're just going to get up to so many shenanigans and just like be complete enablers for each other, and like they'll have each other's backs, but like they will encourage each other's poor life choices.
I feel like his friend group would love Parvin. Like,
Absolutely. She would fit right in, I think. I was going to say Charlie would get into some shenanigans with like the drunk tweeting that Jules does. I feel like they would really get along with each other, like fighting about pop culture of some kind on Twitter. Some argument would happen, but in the loving fighting way where you're like arguing like a Ariana Grande versus Beyonce situation, you know, where it's really heated, but all in love.
It's not like the Nikki Stan account sort of situation. Like there's still some grace in there.
Yeah, no Barb, sorry.
Yeah.
So Penn is definitely baking a dulce de leche cake full of laxative and delivering it to Cal.
He would so deserve it.
And Charlie's going to try to talk her out of it.
But it's not.
She's not going to listen.
No, and she shouldn't, because Penn is correct.
But like, I would still want to taste that cake. Because Penn just sounds like such an incredible guy.
You would just be naturally inclined to trust that cake, even if she told you not to try it.
That cake keeps you regular. What can I say?
I also feel like Penn and Parvin have really similar energies sometimes, like in the pranks and stuff. So I don't know why, but today I was driving home from picking up my kid and I was thinking about how Penn literally like tried to apply for a job and like set an oven kind of on fire, like just for shits and giggles. And I was like, that was so badass that she did that with that weird concoction. And I think Parvin would really love that.
There
Agreed.
was a prank in the book that had something to do with laxative, and they made me cut it because it could have been deadly.
Oh,
Like what the character was doing.
Wait,
So,
are we not writing things that children can recreate anymore?
I guess not ones that could potentially lead to death.
But Crystal, I will say the arsonist character in my book, Emerson Chang, I think would also be down with Penn's oven explosion.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
Jai, did you think of one?
I am like either like if Jules and Penn get into like an argument over like the Texas breakfast taco wars and like who has the best breakfast in Texas.
What is the Texas breakfast taco war?
I mean, it's mainly centered usually between like Austin and San Antonio.
Like it's just like not a very great
like, but like people who grow up in like Corpus are like, why are they even yelling? They're both wrong. And then like in the Valley, it's even more that like, why are they wasting their breath? Because we're literally right next to Mexico. Like there's no competition.
And then if you're in West Texas, they make all of their breakfast tacos with flour tortillas, and you're like, that's a burrito.
Yeah, and the more west you get, they turn into burritos. And so, like, we don't acknowledge that.
I did not realize the battlefield I was.
No, yeah. There's like a serious thing between San Antonio and Austin and like who has the best breakfast taco.
It's serious stuff, apparently.
Crystal, you and I need to like fucking go to Texas.
Let's do it. Forget our babies.
Place you can ever imagine.
And also, like, I could definitely see, like, if Beyonce and Ariana Grande were both at a music festival together, like, Charlie and Jules would figure out a way in. Like,
absolutely. They're sneaking backstage.
Oh, yeah, they're sneaking in. One of those performers are going to, like, have a restraining order against one of them by the end of the night, for sure.
And I think they'd be proud of that, honestly.
And then, maybe that's, like, one last question. So, what high school superlative is your main character getting?
I want to say Charlie's going to get most fashionable. But she'll probably in reality get like nicest to know, which is like the most insulting superlative you can get. It's like not a real one, but nicest to know. But I want to say most fashionable.
Our high school didn't have superlatives, so this is like just so foreign to me. But Parvin,
make it up.
I think she would just be like the most bassoon player. Just most bassoon.
What about like most likely to play a prank or something?
Yeah, most mischievous. Is that?
Yeah, something cute like that.
A good one? Okay, yeah.
But prank, yeah.
She's like trying to reform herself, but she just can't quit.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Penn would be most likely to kick your ass and then apologize with cookies.
Yes.
That's all.
That
true.
may or may not have laxative in them.
It's a gamble.
Your poor ass.
I know. It's gonna get kicked twice.
What about Xander?
Oh, that's true.
I didn't think of one for him.
Okay, never mind.
You know.
This is funny / sad, but like nobody asks me questions about him.
Oh, I love Xander.
On the one hand, I get it. Like people are really drawn to like the strong female leads, and so they want to talk about that the most. But like it's dual POV. Like his point of view is half the book, and so I think when stuff like this, where I'm having to like come up with answers for things, just out of practice, like he slips from my mind as well.
It's all good. He's only half the book.
You're like, who?
I'm just gonna cover his ears over here so he doesn't hear me. Yeah, I don't
He's
have
like most dependable, I feel.
Yeah.
Most dependable.
I actually think he would like that. Like just somebody who you can just rely on, someone who has roots. Like that's what he wants. That's
I mean, he's like literally the Mexican cinnamon roll. Like
yes.
he's a poodle. Like absolutely.
What is that called? A canela roll? Like how do you I don't know how you translate that then here.
Like that's gonna be a funnel cake. Anyways,
Yes.
I think Jules would probably have like most regrettable tweet or something like that. Probably like
Yeah.
liveliest social media account.
Messiest social media.
Messy.
One person's messy is one person's lively. It's okay. Yeah.
One person's messy is another person's Bravo TV. Like
There we go. Yeah.
So true.
Cute.
Jonny, thanks so much for like doing all of this and setting this up and asking such wonderful questions.
I know you did all the work during your launch.
I know.
Thank you so much.
And this was so fun.
From reality for a little bit, so like this was good. But yeah, so before we go,
how much you've been doing.
Do what?
I'm in awe of how much you've been doing. Like they were saying, organizing this on top of everything else.
No, yeah, I am going to go hide at some point by the end of this month. I'm just gonna like live in a cave for a minute. Lord did it, and she's pretty well right now. So like, I'm just gonna go do that.
It turned out pretty good for her, right? So like,
yeah. So I'm just gonna go copy that. There's probably a cave somewhere in Texas that I'll just find.
That's a great idea.
Cute. So before we end, do y'all want to just plug in like your socials and for your book one more time?
Sure. Okay, so I wrote Fat Chance Charlie Vega. You can get it wherever books are sold. I have a second book coming out called No Filter and Other Lies, and that's Charlie, coming out February 1, 2022. And if you want to follow me, I am Crystal Wrote everywhere.
My name is Olivia Abtahi, and all my Instagram, Twitter, all those handles are just my name. And I'm the author of Perfectly Parvin. And my second book, I guess, thanks, Jonny, comes out next fall. And then I have an unannounced middle grade debut coming out in 2023. Although according to Goodreads, Parvin's already middle grade. So I guess it's not a debut from those two stars. So joke's on you guys.
Well, congratulations. That's very exciting.
Either way.
I guess I'll spell my name because that'll probably be easier for you. Social media.
Over your head. It's fine.
Oh, that's true. It's on the screen. So on Twitter and Instagram, it's just at Laekan Zea Kemp. And my website is laekanzeakemp.com. And what is today? The 10th? Tomorrow on June 11th, just in case, like, I don't know how many people are watching this live, but also for people who come and watch the recap. Tomorrow, from this recording, I'll reveal the cover for my sophomore young adult novel, which is a companion novel to Somewhere Between Bitter and Sweet. And so that synopsis is already up on Goodreads if you want to go read it and add it to your TBR. And then, like I said, cover reveal tomorrow.
And it's really beautiful.
You've seen it, Laekan?
Well, I
emailed it to you, Olivia.
Oh shoot!
checked your email. God.
Could I
So
blame my child on that? No, I can't.
Do you have it, Laekan? Do you have a date for the next book? Like,
Just a month. It'll be April again.
awesome. Mine's February again too, so I gotta go first again next year, guys. This is so unfair.
Y'all, we have to meet in Texas though at some point for all of our books coming out next year because
Yes.
it just has to happen.
I don't have one coming out next year, so I'll be free.
Oh, you're 2023.
I am.
I guess
unless
you should do your thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then also, I mean, here's what Laekan's first one looks like. So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote 1,500 Miles from the Sun, which looks like this. And it came out this week, or just June 8th, which is like so many days from whenever y'all are watching this video. And you should go buy it. And my next book comes out in 2023, like early 2023 or something like that. And yeah. Oh, my Twitter is at Jonny Escribe, like write in Spanish, and then my Instagram is Jonny Instas, and you can go to my website, johnnygazavia.com. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching, and go read our books. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.